The Legion of Night. Ruled by the cunning Mannfred von Karstein, the Legion of Night is endless tide, driven on by the impetus of their masters, and drowning the foe in a surge of moldering bodies. Mannfred has always been defined by his ambition. He controls more raw military strength than any one vampire, which in its own right is a testament of his will. Mannfred will gladly send thousands of his minions into the grinding press of war to achieve his hate-fueled designs. This pragmatism is common amongst the rulers of the undead, but Mannfred and his followers are exemplar of this discipline. Those vampires who serve Mannfred in his Legion of Night are some of the most cruel and callous of their breed. They see themselves as true lords of night and fear above those. Those vampires who serve Mannfred in his Legion of Night are some of the most cruel and callous of their breed. They see themselves as true lords of night and far above those mortal chattel they oppress and feed upon. A vampire noble who shows any hesitation is soon dispatched and replaced by one more in line with the vampire supremacy. The Legion of Night is truly a vast entity. It's likely Mannfred himself does not know the number of vampires and vassal dynasties that have been compelled or forced into his service. Mannfred allows for these followers to pursue their own desires, so long as they bring misery to the living. Though if he is to take charge, he expects nothing less than total obedience. Behind each subservient soul blight lord shambles a great host of the undead, bound to the vampire's will. The Legion of Night is not discriminatory when it comes to those necromantically added to the ranks. However, those more martial-minded vampires clad their minions in midnight black cloth as a sign of fealty. Others field armies clad in colors they did in life, so it is not uncommon to see the Legion of Night with many different faded hues within their lines. All vampires will raise reinforcements from shallow graves or the freshly slain in the midst of battle. However, few do so with the dispassionate efficiency of those within the Legion of Night. Mannfred's creed that honor, mortality, and notions of prideful dignity are nothing more than impediments to victory has been fully embraced by his disciples, as they see no reason to consider anything save their own selfish desires. Huge swarms of dead walkers and death rattle are raised up and sent mindlessly forward without hesitation toward the Legion's foe. They will walk unthinkingly into enemy arrows storming down upon them, or a flurry of blades shrugging off what would be mortal wounds, drowning the resistance with their sheer weight of numbers. While the horde might be mindless, Mannfred is far from it. Centuries of vying for ultimate domination has made him a master of the conniving ploy and the dishonorable act, raising pox-ridden zombies to spread a disease, or executing captives within their own walls to then resurrect them and form an alliance with their commanders, which will then seed vampirism through the ranks. Courtiers of New Lamia consider his methods to be crass, and the warlords of the Castelli decry him as honorless cur. Mannfred and the Legion cares not, since they know that power and victory are the only true measure of success. Many soul-blight nobles within the Legion of Night seek to emulate their master to earn his favor through the greatest displays of ingenuity and cunning. Those who do end up in Mannfred's inner circle, mostly to keep an eye on those who prove too clever for their own good, but he is wise enough to see the value of such a servant. The Legion of Night once served as Nagash's terror weapon before the ascension of Lady Olander and the Legion of Grief. This has not knocked Mannfred or his Legion down in importance due to their ability to adapt quickly to changes. They have become a useful tool to use against the more unpredictable foes. However, Mannfred is a wild card who can only be trusted to be untrustworthy. But in his unpredictable nature, Nagash sees a valuable asset that will forever keep his enemies off kilter. Cunning and vindictive, Mannfred von Karstein is numbered amongst the most dangerous of all soul blight vampires. An accomplished warrior, sorcerer, and general, he has long served as one of Nagash's foremost warlords, though his ambition extends far beyond such servitude. The von Karsteins are an ancient lineage, and of them Mannfred is the most venerable and most feared. He has seen entire ages pass and kingdoms beyond count flourish and decline, and he has come to appreciate a defining truth. No one is invincible or irreplaceable. Even a god can fall. Nagash himself proved that much when he was broken by the Ever-Chosen. He seeks to one day escape the great necromancer's clutches and become the sole overlord of death. Soaring above the battlefield upon the dread abyssal Ashigorath, Mannfred von Karstein watches the advance of his armies with bitter pride. His pale face curls in a sneer, calculating red eyes assessing every change and desperate defense for weaknesses. When the prey is sighted, he directs his monstrous mount in a blistering dive, spells and arrows rebounding harmlessly from his baroque plates of the armor of Tempelhof, while storms of deathly magic rip asunder his adversaries' very souls. Mannfred was not the first von Karstein to haunt the world that was, but he was the most infamous. The vampire's conniving ways led in part to Nagash's resurrection, but his spite played a significant role in the destruction of that world. One might have expected Nagash to condemn Mannfred's soul to an eternity of tormenting purgatory for this, but the great necromancer is loath to throw away any tool that may prove useful. Thus was Mannfred summoned once more to serve as the Mortarch of Night, commander of a great legion of the dead. Though he despised servitude, even Mannfred, for all his self-absorbed bitterness, knows that he cannot hope to simply overpower Nagash. For now, he plays the role of a loyal servant, fueled by disgust at his status and commanding the Legion of Night, even as he plots to free himself. Nagash is well aware of his Mortarch's untrustworthy nature, but he is willing to overlook his treacherous intentions for now. Besides, such constant scheming ensures the vampire's mind remains sharp and potent weapon to be used against Nagash's enemies. Outside the ranks of the gods, only Archon the Black and perhaps Vok Mordian exceed Mannfred's skill at necromancy, a state of affair the vampire is constantly striving to alter. With a pulse of will, Mannfred can animate a score of corpses, setting them against his enemies in a relentless tide. He can fashion a cyclone of spectral blades to assail the foe, or conjure a gale of spirits that fill the air with soul-shredding shrieks. Yet, Mannfred's greatest weapon remains his mind. The Battle of Rot Soul Mire, the War of the Nail, the Invasion. On all these occasions, and more, the Mortarch of Night has shown himself willing to do whatever it takes to ensure victory, no matter how dirty or dishonorable the deed may be. It is a trait that has proven worthwhile time and time again. While many vampires may look upon the greatest of the von Karsteins with private disdain, none can deny his ruthless efficiency in power games they all play, nor shake off their unease that, one day, his black star might rise further still. The Battle of Rot Soul Mire. Few battles exemplify Mannfred's genius better than the one fought at Rot Soul Mire. Here, the Mortarch's army slaughtered the Fly-Blown Legion, a contagion of rotbringers who had spread their grandfather's noxious gifts across many an underworld, to the last man. Other undead generals had attempted to engage the Nurglites on more favorable ground, only to be overcome by the Rotbringers' pox-blessed weapons. Mannfred took a different tact, presenting the glory-seeking champions of Nurgle with an irresistible opportunity to slay a Mortarch on marshy ground that favored their warriors. Mannfred, however, knew the terrain well from centuries of rulership. Beneath Rot Soul Mire was a hidden realm gate to Akshi, through which bright magic ebbed and flowed, periodically turning the swamp into a boiling sludge. As the Fly-Blown Legion pursued the apparently fleeing Mortarch, they were suddenly set upon by hordes of zombies emerging from beneath the stagnant surface, their flesh already too blackened to harbor new strains of infection. Even as they were dragged down by scores of grasping hands and began to boil in their rusted armor, the veteran Rotbringer still had the best of the fighting. But Mannfred was not finished. The mountains ringing Rotsolmire were the hunting grounds of a Vargeist pack that Mannfred permitted to feast in his domain in return for their allegiance. They rallied to his call now, falling upon the rear of the fly-blown legion in a storm of tearing fangs and leathery wings. Mannfred himself rode at their head, annihilating the Grand Rot Provost Fletcher Belch in a storm of etheric death energies. To slay such a champion ingloriously from afar away well suited the Mortarch's spiteful temperament. Reading more about the Legion of Night in Mannfred von Karstein, I hate to admit it, a liking of him a little bit more. Saw him more as a whiny character rather than a manipulative, patient character, and I mean that's probably a lot from the old world and his spitefulness of destroying it all. But it's nice to see he's more than just that. He's cunning, and that really speaks to me because I like cunning vampires. That's why I like Neferata so much, as we will get into when I cover the Legion of Blood. But the Legion of Night's a fun one. It is the Legion with the most military strength, yet he doesn't just use brute strength, he uses his mind too, and I like that about him. He has the brute strength that he can just brute force his way through problems, but he will do that. He doesn't care if people under him die or get wasted away, but he'll use his mind to find a better and creative solution, and I appreciate that. Well, thank you for staying here and listening to the Legion of Night and Mannfred von Karstein. I hope you have a great day.